Primaries as flag bearer hopeful Dr. Kwabena Dufour withdraws suit. A final victim from tragic estuary incident between Wiaboman and Fana recovered, with residents calling for diversion of the estuary. Still to come, High Court dismisses Atuesian's application to avoid custodial sentence and negotiate payment terms.
So if he's able to pay the 60 million, it's not lucky that because I agenda about that next week. So if he has the 60 million next week and he comes to court and says paid it, that ends the matter.
And later, President Akufo-Addo set to prohibit wholesale export of Ghana's bauxite and iron ore.
I assure you that we'll do whatever it takes to ensure that the exploitation and utilization of these green minerals are done not only in an environmentally sound manner, but also in a way that ensures optimal benefit to the people of Ghana.
Many thanks for choosing us this hour. The show is interactive, and so we'd like to hear from you. We'd like to know your thoughts, your comments, and contributions towards the various stories that we will be bringing to you. The WhatsApp number is on your screens, and you can also join us live on YouTube at CityTube. Tweet at us on Twitter, but don't forget the hashtag CNR Extra. Nilate Latte joins me this morning. How are you doing, my brother?
I'm well, Nanatufo. How are you too?
I'm great. I mean, judging by your smile, I can tell all is well.
It's because it's been a while since we met on the show.
I know.
Good to see you, Nanatufo.
Well, we have some interesting stories for our viewers this morning. Let's start off from the court, where the suit against the primaries of the opposition National Democratic Congress, NDC, has been thrown out. This, of course, to go live to the High Court, where my colleague Hansen Ajiman is joining us with details of what transpired in the court. Good morning, Hansen.
Good morning, Paul.
Right. So the story says that the court has dismissed the injunction suit filed by Dr. Dufour. Now, really, what transpired in the courthouse this morning, or in the courtroom this morning?
Well, the case was called today. The NDC was expected to move its application for abridgment of time, because initially the case was expected to be heard on Monday. However, when the case was called, it occurred that the lawyers for Dr. Dufour indicated that they had instructions from their client to withdraw the case. Now, based on this, the judge presiding over the matter struck the case as it has been withdrawn by lawyers of Dufour. And so for the NDC as a party, they were excited by this move by Dr. Dufour. We are told that for the past 2-3 days since Dr. Dufour sent this or filed this suit in court, they've been trying to engage him to move it out of court, and so it was an exciting one for the representatives of the NDC when Dr. Dufour, through his lawyers, withdrew the suit. Again, the NDC is confident that by virtue of Dr. Dufour withdrawing the suit, the elections which is slated for Saturday, that's tomorrow, will come off. They've assured all delegates and all party members to be ready and constituencies where the election will take place. As we speak now, all representatives who were here earlier have left the court premises. We are told that there's supposed to be a meeting between the NDC and the members of Dr. Dufour's team. The NDC has also indicated that all the anomalies and concerns that were raised by Dr. Dufour have been addressed, and they are hoping that by Saturday, when the polls begin, there won't be any concern from Dr. Dufour and even any of the other candidates who are aspiring to be flag bearer hopefuls of the National Democratic Congress.
Was Dr. Dufour himself present in court?
Dr. Dufour himself was not in court. He was represented by one of the members of his team, Kukubo, who was signatory to a number of letters that were written to the NDC over these issues. Again, we know that former President John Dramani Mahama was a party to the suit. He was not present in court in person, but Julius Debra represented him. Now, the General Secretary himself was here, that's Fififi Avekwete. The Director of Elections, who was also a party to the suit, was not present, but his representative, Daniel Amate, was here. The Electoral Commission was also represented by its lawyer. And also there were key party stalwarts from the legal fraternity. The Director of Legal Affairs of the NDC, Abraham Amaleba, was in court. Private legal practitioner, Eduji Tamaklo, was in court. Former Attorney General Maretta Brew, she was also in court. For I must say, it was a packed atmosphere in court. Almost anybody who mattered when it comes to legal affairs relating to the NDC was present in court.
Well, as will be expected now, just so we have the facts of the case and so we are clear on the issues, this particular hearing was on the application for abridgment of time filed by the NDC, was it not?
Yes, so the Dr. Dufour filed a suit, and in his writ and in his statement of claim and relief, he was seeking three things. First was a declaration that the photo album register was incomplete and inaccurate. The second was a direction to the party to compile a complete and accurate register and hand it over to him and the other aspirants in the race at least 5 weeks before the conduct of the election. And the third was an injunction on the parties from holding the election. That is the first defendant, the General Secretary, the second defendant, the Director of Election, the fifth defendant, the Electoral Commission, from holding the election until a credible photo album register is delivered to them. As part of this, he also accompanied it with an application for interlocutory injunction on the process, which he then served on the various parties. And the court scheduled to hear this on Monday, meaning by virtue of the decision by the Electoral Commission to suspend its supervision of the election, a date on when the election could be held may only be known if the case had been heard on Monday. And so lawyers of the NDC filed an application before the court, and they filed two applications. The first application was an abridgment of time, meaning that the court should grant leave for the case to be heard on Friday rather than on Monday. And the second was for the court to allow for the interlocutory injunction to be heard. So pretty much these two issues were the main issues that were expected to be dealt with by the court today. But that didn't happen because Dr. Dufour, through his lawyers, withdrew the case, and the case has been struck. So in its entirety, the original suit alleging anomalies in the photo album register has been withdrawn. Since it does not exist, the interlocutory injunction in itself also does not exist. And so the Commission to find out modalities to ensure that the elections come on Saturday.
Right. Now, just before I let you go, I mean, a lawyer for Dr. Dufour told the court that he had instructions from his clients to withdraw the case. But did he go further to give any reasons based on the reliefs or that he was seeking initially in his suit? Does he go to say whether or not his grievances had been addressed by the party, for which reason he is withdrawing the case from the court?
He was not clear on reasons for which his client intended or demanded that the suit be withdrawn. But as I indicated earlier, our engagement with lawyers of the NDC suggests that there have been background engagements with Dr. Dufour's team in trying as much as possible to withdraw the case. Now, what we understand is that lawyers of Dr. Dufour did not even know that he had withdrew the case as at yesterday evening. And they got to find out, for some of them, when they were just about entering the courtroom, and for most of them, when the lawyer announced it to the judge. And so the reason is not known, but gleaning from information that we have from the outfit of the NDC, it is certain that the engagements between the party Council of Elders and some key members, and we've been speaking to the Director of Elections, the Director of Legal Affairs of the NDC, and consistently he has given thanks to the Council of Elders and some key members within the party for making this possible. So we can come to a reasonable conclusion that the Council of Elders and some key personalities with the party had to intervene to make this possible. But as to the reason, we do not know that yet officially from the camp of Dr. Dufour. But we've also been told by the General Secretary of the NDC as well as the Director of Legal Affairs of the NDC, Abraham Amaleba, that the concerns that have been raised by Dr. Dufour predominantly and largely have been addressed, and so they do not expect these issues to be of concern when delegates go to the polls on Saturday.
All right, thank you very much. Hansen Ajimai there, our court correspondent, bringing us details on that particular matter where the High Court in Accra has struck out an injunction application filed by one of the flag bearer aspirants of the NDC, Dr. Kwabena Dufour. And of course, automatically, the elections, the primaries, as planned by the NDC. I mean, come Saturday.
It's not surprising for me, Nana, for the current turn of events. This whole particular president go to court if he feels, peeved by some of the things that have been happening, and also his own right to withdraw same if he feels as if particular election, because a personal attack, at least as if Dr. Kwabena also, disunite them as.
I think that would be unfair to campaign to be flag bearer.
Background engagement. All internal means when some of these things come to the fore. And so for me, tomorrow, all hands on deck, plans are far advanced. The Electoral Commission, we are told, has also given the green light that, well, they are no longer going to rescind their decision to, supervise the election. So let's see how this particular one turns out tomorrow across all 275 constituencies in the country.
But finally on this one, isn't it worrying that we allow some of these issues to travel the length this has when we have internal mechanisms that could have been used to address this. It derails progress.
Exactly so. And for the NDC as a political party in waiting, some of these things will go a long way to, you know, cast aspersions on their readiness to even know as far as the 2024 election is concerned. And so when some of these things come, it's very crucial. That's why I was even telling you initially that the party's posturing at the initial stages was as if they were trying to attack Dr. Dufour, which wasn't supposed to be the case. And so their preparedness, readiness for the 2024 election. So, no, 2024.
Some rather body of some pupils who drowned in the Wejagbawe municipality was retrieved yesterday.
The body of the final victim who drowned in the estuary between Riaboman and Fana has been retrieved, bringing the total number of deaths to 9 out of the 12 individuals who were on the boat. In response to the tragic incident, some residents are now advocating for the possible diversion of the estuary to prevent similar occurrences. Our Central Regional Correspondent, Calvis Teta, was there earlier and filed this report. Calvis?
I am here at Riaboman in the Wejagbawe municipality. Just beside me is the boat or the canoe where the 12 school children were sitting on that eventually capsized, killing 9 out of the 12. We would engage authorities on the issue and ascertain why the incident happened. One of the victims who survived the incident is a 13-year-old girl. She is the oldest among the 12 on the boat that capsized, and she narrates how she survived the incident and how she even tried to rescue his junior brother.
Yesterday, when we come from school, when we are coming home, we don't get boat. Then I saw some young boy driving a boat. Then I told her that we should come and take us. When we come and take us, we are plenty. Then I told her that we should remove us. We should remove us here and go and come and take us. The boy tell me that nothing will happen. When we are going, then the boat has done. When the boat has done, then I hold my brother. I don't know how my brother do. Then my brother fell. Then I can't find my brother again.
How many of you were in the boat? If you
Please, we had 12. We have 5 people from Service Awareness Support Academy. Then the Vision Redeemers Academy.
Okay, so that time, where was the one who was riding the boat?
Please, him too is there.
You lost your brother from the incident. How old was your brother?
Please, he's 5 years.
So during the time, did you try saving your brother?
Please, yes.
And what happened?
And I can't find him again.
So who came to rescue you?
Please, it's some man.
Several families here have been affected by the death of these teenagers on the canoe yesterday. One woman lost 2 of her children to the disaster, and she speaks to us about the unfortunate incident.
Sendra na efrim pono ba na aboba sefa fo mu bedu fie nze ho na obi kike mu ka se mu ba na mo butu onsuo no mu no e ho na me de America ni de na me de ko na nkrofo amanfo nso pie na yekwa no so na ya mpa se mo fra na mo butu onsuo no mu nze ho na me hu se me ba no omo ye mienu ba ko no wedi 9 years na ba ko wedi 1.5 nti de odi 9 years no no odaso onsuo no mu na omo hwehwe omo nti ketu na wedi 1.5 no omo nya no na omo di no 2 no tie no so nti ye ko fa no na onhome kakra nti edi no ko hospital no e ho na nurse phone ka se wawu.
For community members, they are surprised that such an incident has happened to children of school-going age, and they want authorities to act, but they share their thoughts with City News.
Me blab Bani, and Timmy Fino Jamaica Bami say, Indian Wakan Sunum, until the battle of Nana, it's me, a Bomodia, ye the nets, Crumpon of Fanet, about 2. and so that many nipa 8 and run on the Omokogu mortuary.
Tina, you 2 young Sunimuno. Ye be a native yano, ye be in Biano. Omo dear Wejano, and I wouldn't sway you. Colano, no, the boat, not Sanam say, and that's what you will bomb a butuye.
Assemblyman for Fana has been instrumental throughout the rescue operations, but his worry is that the authorities such as the NADMO and those that matter have not been up to the task.
The body that is not here at the moment, of which I'm so appalled about, is the NADMO, because you and I know that they are supposed to be here to know what is actually happening. It's the Zoel guys that also came around and then added their effort to the community folks. And the police also did their bit, and things are just underway. We just had information, a hint that she's found somewhere, and then brothers have rushed to the scene to see whether they can have a retrieve.
We are currently on the canal that connects to the sea here in the Wejabawe enclave. The last of the 12 children who drowned in the canal has been rescued. We are heading offshore. Traditional authorities will perform some rites before he's buried. The Wiaboman community and the Fana community falls within 2 municipalities, the Wejagbawe Municipal Assembly and the Gansouth Municipal Assembly. But the MCE for Gansouth Municipal Assembly, Joseph Nyani Stephen, says he has answers.
In fact, we are all not happy about what happened. We are here to sympathize with them, like I said earlier on, and also to talk to the bereaved family and then see the next line of action to take.
It's because of this canal that they lost 9 lives. So what is your position on that as the MC?
He said they want the compensation. Let me meet them first and let me hear from them, and then we'll take it from there.
So how about the canal?
We'll take care of everything. Let me meet them first, and then when we meet them, what we need to do, we'll do it.
Are you considering taking them away from where they live currently?
Let's meet first, and then we'll take it from there.
Chief, the community members are complaining that after the incident happened, they didn't see the NADMO and staff around as early as possible.
The NADMO staffs are here with me, and so if they say they have not seen them, I bet to differ with them.
So the narrative we've gotten from the community is that the incident happened at 4:30.
4:30.
And almost about 24 hours now. Now that we are seeing NADMO, why that?
Really, he called me early in the morning that he's coming to the scene. So I'm surprised you are saying that you are not seeing the NADMO officials here.
Municipal Chief Executive for Wejagbawe, Patrick Kumo, says the estuary is supposed to be there to make way for free flow of water from the dam when the dam is spilled. He however says a committee will be formed to look into the matter.
We're recommending that they should be taken out of that island. They are not supposed to be there. A committee will be in place. Then, of course, the recommendation that comes up is what government is going to implement. Are you getting it? I believe sometimes we create our own problem and then we come try to heap it on government. You are not supposed to be there. You've set up your own community, and now this disaster comes up, and now it's supposed to be handled by government. Government is responsible for everybody, but then certain laws and certain things must be respected.
2 communities within the Wejagbawe and Gansouth municipality are in a state of mourning after the death of 9 out of 12 children who were commuting from school to their various homes. Community members are hoping that authorities that matter will address their needs. Calvis Tete, City News, Wiaboman.
Well, there's been some updates to the story. We understand Greater Accra Regional Minister Henry Korte is on his way to the scene. Ghana Education Service has issued a statement on, although that statement looks too familiar. It looks like there's a template somewhere that is only recycled.
Which is actually worrying,
yes.
Because look, if you study this particular story, the cycle is repetitive, the narrative is the same, and the response has never changed. And for me, the Ghana Education, all that they do is to issue statements to commensurate with bereaved families when some of these things happen, and that's the end of it. What are they pushing for? Is it the crime of these children to access education? That we may have to be losing their lives? And each time we hear of such stories, it is school children trying to go to school, losing their lives. Why not make education accessible to them? You see, you hear the MCE say that they are not supposed to be there. Why are laws made? Enforce the laws, make sure they are no longer there. But for us to always come back here, having the same conversation, I think it boils down to proper leadership.
Well, the minority in parliament has issued a 10-point statement on this particular disaster. I'm going to take the opening points, and then I'll jump to the closing where some recommendations or some calls have been made. It's titled Minority Statement on Boat Disaster That Killed School Children in Wejagbawe Municipality. 1. The minority in parliament is regrettably saddened and shocked by the disturbing news of the demise of 9 school children of the Service Awareness Academy and the Redeem Academy, 2 private schools in the Wejagbawe municipality of the Greater Accra region, following a tragic boat incident on the Weja Dam. This distressing news comes barely a week after a 29-year-old teacher, Mr. Samson Edu of the Chinikope MA Primary School in the Kratche West municipality of the Oti region, drowned in the Volta Lake in a similar but tragic boat incident. His body has since been laid to rest. I'm going to jump to point 8, where it says, we take this opportunity to further call on government to commit more resources to building classrooms and educational infrastructure in undeserved communities to ensure equity, inclusiveness, and easy accessibility in realization of the educational rights of Ghanaian children as provided for by the Article 25 of the 1992 Constitution. And 9 says, when Parliament finally reconvenes, we, the minority in Parliament, would not only make a statement on these devastating happenings, but would also impress it upon government and the relevant stakeholder institutions to take drastic steps to avert these happenings. So it falls in line with what you are advocating for. And then also we've seen education think tank, Africa Education Watch, petition the Education Committee of Parliament to actually look into some of these things. My worry is that if we're unable to provide access, easy access to education, we're unable to bring it to the doorstep of these children, and their only mode of transportation is water or sea transport, can we not make it safer for them? As a short-term measure, at least, because it can't be business as usual. We always talk about these things and then nothing really is being done. And for me, in this particular case, what I find more intriguing is the fact that the canoe was actually being operated by a 12-year-old. I mean, we can't jeopardize the lives of children just like that. It cannot be happening. It sounds horrific to us on this part of or this side of the city or this side of the country, but perhaps it's a practice where they live, and so to them it's a common feature and there's nothing wrong about it. But that is where authorities need to step in
and even ensure that there are people, not more officials there to ensure the safety of some of these children, because usually NADMO will just come and provide relief items and then it ends there. And so if you know that the times are difficult for you to ensure the proper access, that is also the long-term measure. As we speak, what do you do? Just move your men there. Let them ensure that these people are carried safely every now and then. And so that we can, because Nana Tufo, it's very difficult. It's very difficult that you have a child, he or she tells you that mommy or daddy, I'm going to school. The next moment you hear that a boat has capsized and then he or she is drowned. She's no longer more with you. And you look at the videos that Calvis even brought.
We saw the woman, she had lost 2. Traumatized. A 1.5-year-old.
It's serious. It's serious. So for us, we will keep making the call. The appropriate authorities must ensure that the right things are done, because look, it's becoming one too many, and it's quite worrying.
This is still the City Newsroom, or CNR Extra, I beg your pardon, here on City TV, still to come. High Court dismisses Atuesian's application to avoid custodial sentence and negotiate payment terms. We'll tell you more shortly. Do stay with us.
Day 4. Now this promises to be a long day of discovery. Waking up at the Ganas Hotel and enjoying a sumptuous breakfast, we are ready. Experience a display of fashion and all sorts of artifacts and memorabilia. At the Pagapio Palace, a beautiful reception awaits with all the dance and pageantry. Watch out for Day 4 Part 1 of the Heritage Caravan Diaries.
Welcome back. Let's move into some more stories. And contrary to reports that we were getting that the levels of turbidity in the Ankobra River had improved, residents living along the area are saying that the opposite. They don't believe that the story is true because they live close to the river and they know the current state of the river.
Residents living along the banks of the Ankobra River in the western region are refuting claims of improved turbidity in the river. Instead, they are demanding an immediate halt to illegal small-scale mining, commonly known as galamsey, to prevent further pollution of the river. The residents' concern arise 3 months after George Mrikuduka, the Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, asserted that the government's efforts to combat galamsey had resulted in an improvement in the river's color. Kwesi Ejeyemi, City News' Western Regional Correspondent, provides an on-site report from the banks of the Ankobra River.
On Thursday, 16th of February this year, the Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, George Mrikuduka, actually came to the Ankobra River here in the Elemda district to pronounce that the river was actually improving from its pollution that was caused by illegal small-scale mining, popularly known as galamsey. But 3 months down the line, today being the 11th of May 2023, this is the current state of the Ankobra River, still very much polluted, as can be seen over here. And if I'm to actually move to the Ankobra community portion of the river, it is obvious that the pollution or the state of the pollution of the Ankobra River is in a very bad state. This is the kind of river that the Ankobra community, as you see here, was using for most of their house chores. A resident tells me that they used to swim in this very river, were fetching for their washing and all that, but because of galamsey activities, this is the current state of the Ankobra River, still very much polluted. But what does that actually say about the pronouncement made by the Deputy Lands and Natural Resources Minister to the effect that the river was actually improving in terms of its color because of the fight against illegal small-scale mining known as galamsey?
Ojuantro, just say nsuo I mean the nipa baka say nsuo no say nipa no on pe Ghana yie. Nsuo de ya na ya bre ya to ho de ya bre ankasa nsuo udi bi nsuo udi bi bia anya yie. Udi bi bia anya yie. Sisi ampo na mpo ebe nya mpo adi mpo no ahoden pa o maman ni. Sisi amohwe na mudi udi maman ti baba no nipa no ojuantro.
Nipa ko na ka chem say obaka say nsuo no nani ato no oya wi oboa oya ntrop otwantrop ontumi ngina ba bia ka say nsuo nani ate wo sesi anam no ka sa kwa hwe ba bia hwe se ne nsuo no nani aye galamsefo no omo ye no se galamsefo no omo nya omo nja galamsefo no for omo ye nsuo no nti enam kwa ntumi ye den entena nsuo no enam no so mo nsuo no mu a chemicals ni ti omo ntumi ye den omo ntumi entena nsuo no nti omo mu a bo nsuo no mo awu first na ye me akola o but first na me juice tam na majuno enam ye wonam bi o ye fa na asesen enam beble etumi to aboa o nsuo no sisi a na ya den ni anya bi yetumi to boa ne sa sisi ana me majusi no sa nam no ebi ni nsuo no.
For City News, I'm Kwesi Ejeyemi, Ankroba River in the Lembre districts of the Western region.
When the commitment to fighting illegal mining is weak, the state of our water bodies will continue to expose us. It's as simple as that.
That's how you choose to put it.
If you come and show us pictures of a water gaining its normal state, but the people living there take us there and we see it live, the state of pollution in the Ankobra River. I don't know how else you
and they are actually the custodians of
exactly.
the river body.
They actually live off this river. They fish in there for a livelihood. They fetch water from there for domestic use, and it's polluted to this extent. And yesterday, I think the president was speaking at a resource stakeholder something, and he
mineral resources
something. He mentioned that there's been significant success in the fight against illegal mining since 2017.
Even at the time, the presidency is actually questioning a report that was, put forward by, its own minister, former minister,
who was put in charge of an inter-ministerial
committee of illegal mining, and that report was actually dismissed. It really begs the question if government is serious about this whole galamsey.
They say it's hearsay, so maybe
it cannot be. What is your contrary, evidence? At least we should see that. And for me, when the deputy minister actually posted these pictures, I was a bit skeptical. I was wondering, really, is this what the government is trying to say?
Because we know from our own galamsey dialogue, that we held
we
here.
Knew the state of the water
exactly,
bodies.
And then we heard from experts how long it was going to take to restore the water bodies to their natural state.
It was too good to be true when the minister actually posted those pictures. And we've always said that it would take a lot more decisive action to ensure that the galamsey fight is won. And so it's very disturbing if you hear those at the helm of affairs trying to trivialize some of the concerns people have actually raised, just patting themselves on the shoulder to make it look as if they're actually working. It shouldn't be so. And so residents who are actually there have told us the true state of these water bodies, how the illegal mining menace is actually affecting livelihoods. We want to see proper action. And it's unbelievable the level of devastation. You mentioned our galamsey dialogues. We saw the pictures for ourselves. We saw the videos for ourselves. And it appears the community members are aware of the threats. They raise the concerns, but those in charge just sit down adamant, not taking any moves to ensure that this particular fight is won in its entirety.
And that raises questions. Could they be benefiting from these?
Exactly so. That's why we say that perhaps traditional authorities are complicit. Government officials are complicit. That's why we are struggling with this particular war. President Akufo-Addo went all the way to the Ashanti region, met chiefs and people, and then we didn't even see. I remember sometime from the same Western region, I've forgotten the specific area, but the chiefs there actually said that they were going to wage a war against galamsey, and I think they made some gains in there. Are we trying to learn from this particular, community and all that? Sometimes it's really disturbing if you hear the talk shop, the lip service. We are fighting galamsey, but we are not seeing the actual works on the ground. And we've always been told that if care is not taken, Ghana may be importing water in the next 30 years. I do not think we want to get there. So the advocacy will go on. Let's see what stakeholders in the space, what government itself will try to do to ensure that we deal with this particular menace once and for all.
It's quite worrying because we are not dealing with it as we should. And we keep committing resources to a supposed fight.
Forming committees, buying equipment,
military
a lot of, policy interventions, forming one task force or
workshop
the other.
After workshop, committee after committee.
And all these things, wasting money, putting money down the drain.
Which money we don't have? Pensioners are sitting at the finance ministry. Judicial service staff are threatening to embark on strike. Jurors in the Western region
are also
on strike over
asking for their
allowance delay. I mean, let's make progress. Let's go back to the Accra High Court, where an application filed by lawyers of battered businessman to ACN to set aside a custodial sentence has been dismissed by the court.
The High Court in Accra has rejected an application made by Ato Essien's lawyers to set aside any proceedings that could lead to a custodial sentence for the former CEO of the defunct Capital Bank. The application also requested further negotiations on the terms of payment. The lawyers presented this application when the state was set to argue its case as to why Ato Essien should be imprisoned for failing to fulfill the terms of repaying 60 million Ghana cedis owed to the state. There's more in this report.
The state filed the application after Ato Essien, who had pleaded guilty to charges of stealing and money laundering in connection with the collapse of Capital Bank, failed to meet his financial obligations under the agreement that allowed him to avoid imprisonment. Ato Essien had signed an agreement with the state under Section 35 of the Courts Act. According to the terms of the agreement, Ato Essien was required to refund 90 million Ghana cedis, the amount he admitted to stealing. He paid 30 million in December and was expected to repay the remaining 60 million Ghana cedis in 3 equal installments in 2023, with the first payment due on April 28. However, as of May 2, checks from the Controller and Accountant General's office revealed that the outstanding 20 million Ghana cedis had not been paid, prompting the state to initiate the application. However, the court did not hear the application, as Ato Essien's lawyer had filed another application to suspend the proceedings for imposing a custodial sentence on his client. They also requested leave for further negotiations on the terms of the contract. Tadiosori Esquire argued that applying Section 35(7) of the Courts Act, which empowers the court to impose a custodial sentence when an accused person fails to meet the terms of an agreement, will lead to an absurd outcome in the present case. The lawyer urged the court to interpret Section 35(7) purposively rather than literally. The state opposed the application, arguing that there was no need for interpreting the provisions of Section 35(7) of the Courts Act. Deputy Attorney General Alfred Chianyeboa stated in court that the section is crystal clear, unambiguous, and admits of no ambiguity.
Convict was given every opportunity to be spared custodial sentence. He has spanned such an opportunity, and we think that the section in the Courts Act, Section 35, especially Section 35(7), must apply. Even as I told the court, if you look at Section 35(7), the court does not even have the power or the discretion to extend time for such a convict. So we think that the convict has come to the end of the road, and for that matter, he must be sentenced.
In support of the application, Ato Essien's lawyer further argued that it was within the court's power to vary its judgment, since the state's application concerned the enforcement of the court's judgment. However, the state disagreed, asserting that the court lacked the authority to modify the terms of the agreement. It also emerged in court that Ato Essien had made a payment of 4 million Ghana cedis out of the 20 million Ghana cedis he was supposed to pay by the end of the previous month. Ato Essien's lawyer argued that this payment demonstrated his client's commitment to fulfilling the financial obligation, and another check of 1 million Ghana cedis will soon be submitted to the state. However, the state indicated that it would reconsider its position on the custodial sentence only if Ato Essien pays the full amount of 60 million Ghana cedis.
His refusal to pay as ordered by the court. We are not expected to pay only 20 million, but he's supposed to pay 60 million. So having failed to do so, I think it to be in the interest of justice that the law as we have it is made to work. It's true that I may think that the state needs money, but the laws must also be obeyed.
During the initial stages of the negotiations, when the judge initially disagreed, the argument from the state was that it's better to get this money than to put him in jail. What has changed the position of the state?
Nothing has changed. If, for example, we expect that come here today, we just must have the 60 million. He will spare custodial sentence. So if he's able to pay the 60 million, he's now lucky that the court has adjourned the matter to next week. So if he has the 60 million next week and he comes to court and he says he's paid it, nothing's the matter.
After considering the arguments, Justice Eric for
Atuesian to jail or not to jail, but just as the Deputy Attorney General has said, all will be hinged on whether or not he's able to make the commitments or the payments he has committed.
And that's actually next week when the case is recorded.
We should know in about 3 days.
Well, it's an interesting case, Nana, to fall, because you hear things like the law is the law. This same law, the two parties, one is actually pushing for the complete application of the law. The other party is saying that let's try and put a human face to it, because at least ASEAN has actually shown commitment to ensure that he pays the first tranche of the 20 million that he's expected to pay, which was due sometime April 28. So look at the argument of the two sides. It's quite interesting because look, Atuesian was supposed to be jailed based on the fact that he was unable to make the. And I remember when this particular, arrangement was reached, the Deputy Attorney General said that even if Atuesian pays everything and it's left to just a peswa, he will be made to face that custodial sentence. And so that is what the state is, pushing for. But lawyers of the defendant is actually saying that, well, no. Let's try to put some, let's temper justice with mercy.
Has he taken state money or not? Yes. Has he admitted to taking same?
He has.
Yes. What does the law say? What punishment should be meted out to him? Did he come under a special article to avoid custodial sentence, by which reason an agreement was made? And same agreement, default of that agreement
will mean that jailed. And that is actually the argument of the Deputy Attorney General, that it was your own arrangement, your own agreement, so you can't default.
You came to us with this. So that is the human face part. So it should end there.
So let's see how this particular one goes. But well, maybe the court will also look at,
because you see, it's not like it will excite anybody if he is jailed. We need the money actually. The state needs the money because Ghana is actually broke. We need the money actually. But then again, in the absence or his inability to refund the money, he should be punished enough to serve as a deterrent to others.
That is actually.
We cannot see another banking crisis as we saw. It's dangerous.
So, it's a difficult one, but like you mentioned, let's try to make progress on this particular one. Let those who break the laws face it squarely. The appropriate sanctions available. It should be meted out to them. And so next week they are going back to court. Let's see how the argument will go. Let's see what the judge will also decide on. Maybe if he's going to look at alternatives, are we trying to see the sale of his asset to defray the debts? All of these things may even come up next week when the court actually sits on this case. But interesting time. Let's see how the law is applied in this particular one.
Yeah, I mean, and it's such a beautiful thing to watch, the application of the law and the defense of same. But yeah, we'll enjoy it, but we'll be sure to bring our viewers up to speed with what transpired in court next week. Now, the first gentleman of the land, President Akufo-Addo, has been speaking. This time, he's announcing plans to ban the wholesale export of bauxite and iron ore.
President Akufo Holders Forum have maintained their picketing outside the Finance Ministry, hoping that their outstanding coupons and principals, which are currently held by the government, will be paid early next week. Despite being exempted from the domestic debt exchange program in February, the pensioners have not received full payment, with approximately 16 coupons and principals still unpaid. There's more in the following report.
For the past 4 days, retired bondholders who have investments locked up with the government have gathered outside the Finance Ministry for an hour each day, demanding the payments of their matured coupons and principals. The government's failure to meet its debt obligation towards the pensioners has severe consequences for their lives and the lives of their dependents. When the government introduced the domestic debt exchange program as part of its debt restructuring initiative, some individual bondholders, including members of the Pensioner Bondholders Forum, chose not to tender their bonds. After weeks of protest and lobbying, the pensioners managed to secure an exemption from the Finance Ministry on February 16, 2023. This exemption demonstrated the government's commitment to honoring the payment of coupons and principals when they become due. However, despite the exemption, approximately 16 coupons and principals still remain unpaid. Reports suggest that the government has decided to borrow 1 billion cedis from the Treasury bill market to fulfill its obligation to the pensioners. Dr. Edua Nanientri, the convener for the Pensioner Bondholders Forum, expressed his thoughts on the matter.
If government gets that, then we believe anytime from Monday we should start seeing government making the payments. But until the last payment is made, we won't stop here. We won't stop coming here. Now the last coupon was that of 8th May. By Monday, that coupon would have also been due. So once everything is cleared and there will be no outstanding, the operating word is that there should be no outstanding. Once every outstanding is paid, we won't come and pick it here.
Although Thursday,
Dr. Eduanani Entry in his iconic tie there, very unrelenting in his demand for payment of matured coupons.
Actually expressing his patriotism, fighting for these, bondholders. And Nana,
it's quite ironical. You see, the same country that is pressing its foot on your neck, and you're able to represent it so much. I mean,
what option is available to
he is a Ghanaian, and
he's a Ghanaian, and then so this particular issue of pension bondholders, Nana, we've spoken about it at length, and sometimes when we become passionate about it, it's not as if we are against government. It's just because we are trying to put ourselves in the shoes of these pensioners. Because as young as we are also investors trying to secure the future for ourselves. But if this is the case we have on our hands, and it really leaves much to be desired in what we want to expect in the future. And for me, is the government posturing quite insensitive, not trying to engage these pensioners. Well, they fought for exemption.
We actually understand that a meeting that was scheduled to take place today did not happen.
Just look at that.
Because no representative from the finance ministry showed up.
Which doesn't even bode well for, the financial sector space and the confidence thereof. And so for me, government should do the needful. Government should try and, listen to the pensioners. Try to, reach an amicable solution, a payment plan, something of a sort, to ensure that, because they are always fighting for their money just to get medication, just to fund the education of their children and all that. And I mean, you can't leave them just in the open, just to fight for themselves. Throw them out just because they fought for an exemption.
What worries me the most, it's not like they are begging you for money. It is their money.
And it is something that is due them. You made just one payment right after the exemption, and the rest you just don't want to engage.
You agreed to exempt them, and by doing so,
and even give assurances that you are going to pay
coupons.
them their matured coupons, for which reason you provided them with the exemption. And so it's quite difficult. It's quite difficult. We just hope that the government will just, honor its obligations, give them what is due them, for them to also get some form of satisfaction.
All right, thank you very much. This has been our show today, CNR Extra, from our studios here at number 5 Oula Hansen Lane, Tessano in Accra. I did this with Ni Latte. Thank you so very much for your insight.
For having me.
And of course, many thanks to you for joining us. Don't tune off. Keep watching City TV.